Tanu Rabbanan, 8 lines in the bottom. Okay.
Good to go.
Yeah. So first of all, I just came from a Shiva house. LA suffered a tremendous tragedy with Shmuley Greenfeld's passing. And I told his father that I'm going to give a Daf Yomi tonight, and I'm going to give it in memory of Shmuel Dan ben Rabbi Yosef Avraham. His neshama should have an aliyah.
Amen.
And also, I want to say thank you to Dr. Gross. I never really thanked him properly as we're approaching the end of Makkos, and we're using the Gemaras that you sponsored. And these Gemaras were sponsored by Dr. Gross, Le'ilu Nishmas.
That's Sarah Miriam and Eliezer Menachem.
Esther Bas Sarah Miriam and Eliezer Menachem. Her neshama, Nihas. Her neshama should also have an aliyah. And Reb Daniel Aguilar, who sponsored the clock, the time. I get the hint. I'm not going to go over time. I know it's like a very nice way of giving musar. Like, Rabbi, here's a clock. He's just the nicest guy. I can't even imagine that was his intention.
Well, you kept looking at the other clock.
Right. And I kept getting overtime. You're like, the clock didn't move. I'm like, I still got an hour or two. We also have a very beautiful email. 2 emails we received very quickly. I know it's just 30 seconds here. Okay. We have an email from Rabbi Eli Scheller. Rabbi Eli Scheller listens to the shiur. He said, "Hi Yoel, I just wanted to tell you how amazing your Daf Yomi shiur was. It was incredible to see how exciting and engaging a shiur could be. The pictures, the comments, inviting in the latecomers. Sometimes I stop to invite people who come late. Every part of it was filled with so much energy and detail. It was a real pleasure to listen to. It was like listening to your stories supercharged and made learning so much more enjoyable and alive. Thank you for putting so much into it. P.S. Where can I get one of those holy locusts from?" Okay, the grasshoppers. Thank you, Rabbi Eli Scheller. One time, that's Eli, right? Okay, Torah anytime. And then we have a response email from Rabbi Asher Levovitz, who emailed me and called me to correct me on a mistake that I made in the daf. And he responded, and I corrected it in yesterday's shiur, and today I got an email. You're really amazing. No one would publicly say that someone called to correct me. You're a true Adam Gadol. This is why I'm showing the email. Everybody should know that I'm an Adam Gadol. That is why the whole world loves you. Okay, I think, all right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for the shiur. It was very informative and enjoyable. Koltov and Biga benched. Now the truth is, I do want to say, Rabbi Asher, if you're watching this, and I know you'll be watching it, the way you called was so, you were so sensitive. You were so kind and sensitive. You almost didn't want to correct me. And so you're Mekayim, what Chazal say, that was easy to be corrected by someone like you. And I welcome corrections from anybody. And no, I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. I think that the Gemara in Gittin says, on Mem Hey or Mem Dalid, Mem Gimel, I remember one of those dafim, Gemara says that Torah is learned only through mistakes, I believe. Right? I don't remember the exact lashon. Okay. Says the Gemara, we are up to Tanu Rabbanan, Chafam at Beis, 8 lines in the bottom. Tanu Rabbanan. So the Mishnah said, Hamasarit Srita Acha, somebody who scratches himself because he's in pain over the death of a loved one, he's chayav malchus. You're not allowed to do that. It's a lav. Tanu Rabbanan. So we started these 2 lines yesterday. We'll just repeat it. Tanu Rabbanan. V'seret yochol afilu sarat al beisa shenofel v'asfinas shtava b'yam. I would have thought that even if a person harms himself, even if he had a financial loss, that he's also chayiv on a lav. Talmud loimer lo nefesh. It's only over someone who dies. That's when you're chayiv. Lo nefesh and chayiv elo al hameis bilvad. Only on a mace. So lamaisa minat Torah it's only al hameis, but avada midrabanan even if it's shaloi al hameis, there's also an isser. It's mavur in the poskim. It's just you don't get malchus on it, but certainly it's usser to harm. Any self harm is usser. Question is there malchus or not? It's also midrabanan at least. Malchus is only when you harm yourself over the pain you're experiencing over the death of a loved one. We're just repeating the Gemara Reb Shaul that we learned yesterday. We're just repeating a couple of lines. How do we know that even if he is scratching himself 5 sritos on one mace, doesn't depend on the number of dead people. It depends on the number of scratches. You chayiv on each one. Talmud learned v'seret lechayiv al kol srita. Some say v'seret. The Rivan says it's an extra vav. V'seret to mechayiv on every scratch. Rabbi Yosi says, let's say you do one scratch over 5 mason. How do you also know shuchayiv al kol achas v'achas? Tamalim lo nefesh lechayiv al kol nefesh v'nefesh to mechayiv on every mace that you scratched yourself for. Even if it's one scratch, if there are 5 mason you did it for, then you chayiv 5 lavin, 5 times malchus. Asks the Gemara, you just darshan from the word lo nefesh that you're chayiv on every mace. Earlier, just a couple of lines ago, we said lenefesh is teaching us that it's only al hameis, but not on a financial loss. So how could you use the same word to darshan 2 drushes? You can't do that. Asks the Gemara, you already used it to teach us that it's only al hameis, but not on financial loss. Answers the Gemara, Ksover Rabbi Yosi, Srita ugedida achasi. Really, there are 2 psukim. One is v'seret lenefesh. Don't scratch yourself. And then there's says goydadu lameis. So it says twice lenefesh lameis, and sritin gedida achasi. It's the same idea. It's the same thing. Whether it's biyad or bekeli, it doesn't matter. The Torah didn't have to repeat it. Iksivasim lameis. It says over there lameis lenefesh. So you have 2 words. One darshans that you're chai for each mace, and the other word darshans that it's only on mace and not on a financial loss. Omer Shmuel masaret bekli chayiv. Somebody who's masaret with a keli, he's chayiv malchus. In other words, also with a keli, it's called srita. It's not just called, with a keli, it's not just with your hands, it was also with a keli. Meisave, srita gdida achasi, we just learned the Braisa. Srita gdida is the same idea. There's a srita biyad gdida b'kli. So you see srita's biyad, how could Shmuel say srita is b'keli? And says the Gemara, who the Omar, Rabbi Yosi, he says like Rabbi Yosi, that says srita gdida is the same thing. Doesn't matter if you do it biyad or bekeli. If you harm yourself, you're chayiv on a lav, and you're chayiv actually. Would you be chayiv? So if a guy is soiret himself with his hand, he'll be chayiv really 2 lavim, right? One on loises goydadu, and one on v'seret lisitnu b'vsarchem, right? So because srit and gedida, doesn't matter whether you do it with a keli or a yad. They're both the same idea, the same isser. So if it's the same issa, why does the Torah repeat it twice? So it wouldn't matter. If you do it bekeli, you're chayiv on 2 lavim. If you do it biyad, you're chayiv on 2 lavim. Big machlekas are showing them whether you get 2 times malchus or it's just 2 isurim and 1 time malchus. But either way, it's definitely 2 averis. If you do it biyad or you do it bekeli, you're over on these 2 psukim of a seret le'sitnu b'vsarchem and also le'sizgoydadu lameis. Okay, says the Gemara. Tani tane kamid Rabbi Yoel. We're 5 lines from the top of Aleph and Aleph Morris. So he's chayiv. Machlekes are shown to be the chayiv malchus twice. In the Rambam it's mashma they only chayiv malchus once, but you're over on 2 isurim. 2 isurim. If a person harms himself over a mace, he's chayiv. He is over 2 isurim.
You know, there's going to do it.
We'll see in a moment. Right now, the Gemara is going to talk about it right now. Tani tanei kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Gemara says
the Muslim, the Shiites, they hid themselves.
As a form of avodah, a form of service.
Yeah, service,
Service for their avodah zarah.
The early Christians also did it.
Huh?
The early Christians also did it.
Well, they did it over. It was a form of service. It was a form of service. That's how you served the avodah zarah, huh?
It was self-flagellation. It's a form of repentance. So
right. Right.
You
know, when I grew up with the Chassidish Maises and Chassidish Rebbes. We know that there was the Große Rebbes, Rebbe Lameilech from Lezhensk, Reb Zisha from Anipoli. They used to prava Golis. They used to go into Golis. They used to bring onto themselves self-inflicting pain. They used to go in Gilgal Shelek. They used to roll themselves in snow for kaparas. This is obviously not what we're talking about, right? Gemara is going to right now talk about somebody who harms himself al shem avodas kachavim, because that's the form of the service to the avodah zarah. So the Gemara is going to say like this: Tani Tana Kamei Rabbi Yochanan. A mace, if you do it over a dead person, bin biyad bin b'kli chayiv. You're chayiv whether you do it with your hand or with your keli. Al avodas kachavim, but if it's for the service of an avodah zarah, that's the form of service. Biyad chayiv b'kli pater. With your hand, you're chayiv. B'kli your pater. Ask the Gemara ipchiksiv. What do you mean? It says in the pasuk opposite. These goydu kemishpatim acharobas over machim. It sounds like it's only b'keli. That's the form of the avodah when they used to serve the Baal, only an avodah zara. That itself, I finally understand what the word avodah zara means. Avodah, it's like a foreign service. Like it's not, that's not the way we serve Hashem. Hashem says, v'chai behem, right? Make sure you enjoy the world. Obviously, you have to elevate the physical world, but to harm yourself, that's not the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to serve Him. And by Avodah Zarah, that is the form of service. You want to awaken, so to speak, the koyach of the Avodah Zarah of the Baal. What did they do? By Eliyahu Navi, when they wanted to bring down the Eish on the Mizbeach by Har Carmel, it says, that they started harming themselves with kalim, with knives, with ramachim, with swords. So the Gemara says that would be the Isser, the eraisa of self-harming when it comes to Avodah Zarah. So it's only by a keli, not by yad. Ela ema b'yad potter. There would be potter, right? And over there, by the way, potter, we're not talking about Makkos. Over there, potter, we're talking about potter and a misa. Because by Avodah Zarah, you chayiv misa. Bekli, then he's chayiv misa. Okay, so the Gemara weiter. V'chayiv al haroish, he's chayiv on, the Mishnah said he's chayiv on cutting off his payas, shtayim, right? 2 times Makkos. One on one side and the other on the other side. Yeah. Rabbi Yoel, we're mamish started Chaf Aleph and Mad Aleph on the 3rd wide line. Machvi Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes showed, he wanted to teach his Talmidim exactly what the Mokam HaPeyas are. Bein Pirke Reisha. I saw a drawing actually from the Shtieble. The Shtieble in Orchis Rabbeinu, in that sefer, they bring a picture that the Shtieble drew with his hand. I wanted to post it. I forgot to send it to you. Where the Pirkei Reisha are, where the payas begin. From here to over here. We saw yesterday there was an image, but the Shtieble, Beyat Kachay, drew an image of what Pirkei Reisha is. Presumably Machver of Sheshes. We have a Makar in our Gemara. Rav Sheshes showed the place of payas with his own hands. Va'al hazoken, shtayim. And Zokin also, Yechayv Shtayim, Mikan Shtayim, Mikan V'achas Malamat, there are 5 spots. He's back. Rav Ezra's back. Machver Rav Sheshes ben Pirke Dikni. He showed the places, we showed yesterday again, that the Shulchan Aruch says, there's so many shitas, Robu behen adeyas, there's so many shitas in the Rishonim exactly what the spots are by the Zokan that you're not allowed to cut. So the halacha is, make sure you don't cut your beard at all, not with a razor at least. Rabbi Eliezer Oimer, Rabbi Eliezer says, notlon ksovar chad lav. Rabbi Eliezer says, if you take the whole beard off at once, you're only over 1 lav. Tanakama says you're over on 5 different lavim because there are 5 spots on the face. Says the Mishnah. The Mishnah said you're only chayiv if you take it off with a razor. Tanu Rabbanon. Okay, so a razor. We'll talk about the razor in a moment. Let's see what the Brisa says first. Tanu Rabbanon. As zakonim lo yigalechu. Don't cut your beard. Don't shave your beard. Yochel afilu gilcha b'misparayim. I would have thought even if you shave it, if you cut it with a scissor, you should be chayiv on the lav of as zakonim lo yigalechu. Talmud leimer lo yisashchis. Don't cut it in a destructive way. What's a destructive way? Right? Destructive way is when you reach into the skin, right? You reach beneath the surface of the skin. That would be derech hashchasa.
It's called the root.
Get to the follicle. I think it's the follicle is like the little guma that's in the skin from which the hair.
With the electric machine, you can get there.
So we'll talk about it in a moment. Excellent question. Let's first see the brisa. If it just would have said loy sashchis, yochel imliktoi b'malkit rehitni yechayev. I would have thought that loy sashchis, it doesn't matter how you destroy your beard, whether it's with a razor or with another tool, another hair removal tool. We spoke yesterday about powder or cream that you put on your face and it burns the hair, and if you leave it on for too long, it burns your skin, and it can destroy also your hair. So I would have thought, if it wouldn't have said the lashon of lo yigalechu, I would have thought any type of ashchasa is aser min ha-Torah. Talmud loimer lo yigalechu. Therefore, the Torah says lo yigalechu haketzad. So what would be the isser? The isser is giluach sheyesh b'ashchasa. To be chayiv alav, to violate the isser Torah, you need 2 criteria. You need 2 conditions. Number 1 is giluach. It has to be by way of razor, and number 2, it has to be ashchasa. It has to be a destroying type of shave. So it's a razor that is derech hashchasa. That's the iser. And what's geluach sheyesh ba'aketz geluach sheyesh b'chasa? Ve'omer zetar. That's a knife, a razor that goes beneath the surface of the skin. Take a look at the graph over here, the image here. You see that chituch al yedei tar goes just beneath the surface of the skin. Just beneath the surface of the skin. That would be tar and iser da'iraisa, because that's also derech hashchasa. It mamish reaches to the root. Doesn't mean it can't grow back. It grows back. People who shave with razors, it grows back all the time. But the problem is, it's called derech hashchasa because it reaches beneath the surface of the skin. And misparayim is a little bit more above that. And we want misparayim ke'entar. There's misparayim ke'entar, which is mamish touching the skin. And misparayim sheloi ke'entar is removed. It leaves a tiny, it's like you can barely see it, but it leaves a little bit of hair on the skin. So what we're looking for really is misparayim shaloi ke'entar, that is shaloi ke'entar, which is a little bit like that leaves a little bit of So you're asking about electric shavers, right? Electric. So I was looking up in the Star K website, right, to see the practical halachas of electric shavers, and so they bring from Reb Moshe, I believe, Reb Moshe Feinstein, and this is years ago. He would take the razor of the shaver, and just like by a shoichet, how does a shoichet check if the knife is sharp enough to do shchita on? Take a piece of hair from the beard or something, and they would hold it with one hand, and they would, in one motion, swing the knife across the piece of the hair, and see if it cuts. And if it cuts, it's mamish that sharp, that's kosher to shecht with. If it doesn't, then it's not. So Rav Moshe used the same idea when it comes to tar and derech hashchasa, to see if it's derech hashchasa, if it's taka that sharp, that if you take a hair and you put that razor across the hair, and if it drops, if it cuts, then that would be isser d'oraisa. You wouldn't want to do that. If it does, then you could make sure you what do you do? You can dull it. Yeah, you could dull the razor so it doesn't cut that sharply. How do you dull it, Daniel? How do you dull a razor?
I'll tell you why I'm confused here. Okay, because if you have a beard this long,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
and you take that shaver with a very sharp. Very sharp. You do not dull it. And you do here. And you still have that long.
לא מדבר
It's
על
not
זה.
that long.
לא מדבר על זה. רק אם זה נוגע לבשר. אתה לא מבין. אתה לא מבין.
Skin.
רק אם זה נוגע לבשר.
Hold on.
לא אם זה פה.
No, it's just checking it. You're taking a hair out and you're putting the knife, the razor, through the hair to see if it cuts it. If it cuts it, then that razor would be considered a tar, would be considered something that is social.
Electric machine?
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about any razor. How would you check a razor?
Okay.
How would you check the blade?
The blade.
The blade. Even the blade of electric. If you could check the blade separately like that would be, according to Rav Moshe, that would be.
אתה מוכן, כאילו שחיטה. אתה מוכן.
So you mean with a dull razor you can actually shave having the metal touch your skin?
That's what they bring on Star K from Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe. Now the problem is they became much more sophisticated. In the olden days, Star K says Rav Moshe, maybe in the 1970s when they first came out with electric shavers, so they weren't so sophisticated yet, where they had, the screen and the blade so close to each other they can mamish touch the skin and do it b'derech hashchasa. So nowadays it's not so pashut. But in the olden days, where Moshe, that's what he wants to say. Rav Moshe's litmus test for a razor or a blade was the old litmus test for a chalif. That's how he tested it.
Okay. I thought that you were talking about the electric machine, that you open it up and you see that knife and try to see if it's that sharp. But if you have an electrical machine that has the knife inside and you have the screen there, so it doesn't even touch the skin. Is it a shchata?
So according to Rav Moshe, if it doesn't touch the skin, then it's okay.
That's the Norelco.
The old is that they still have the Norelcos?
There's
They
a
don't
new
have that
one-
anymore, do
there's
they?
a new one that people like using, and it's the only one I use because I don't really grow a lot of hair, so it works the best for me.
Yeah.
So it's very close to the skin, but based on I think on Moshe's heter, that's why people use it. People love it.
They love it.
Because it gets
Yeah.
rid of everything.
Yeah.
And it's
really
smooth.
close.
Okay, I am not. You should look up in Star K, type in Star K, go to the website, and they give you the halacha l'maisa on this. This is not halacha l'maisa shiur. I'm just mentioning Rav Moshe because they bring it up.
There could be issues with the electric shaver.
There could be issues with electric, especially now. Even according to Rav Moshe, there could be issues because it's much more advanced,
There's a new technology.
technologically more advanced. Yes,
It's called lift and cut.
the lift and cut.
It lifts the hair and then it cuts it. So the cutting of it would be under
Going into the follicle, into the skin. Yeah. So the lift and cut. And how do you make sure it's not? Do you have all? You have the
you have to remove a certain part or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to look it up. You have to speak to your local rabbi or look up the Starkey website. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, I feel a lichter b'malkat or hitni chayiv. Even if you take off your payas with malkat or hitni, you're chayiv manav shechi gomek zei rishava liboyatar. Iloi gomek zei rishava. If you learn pa'as, then you should need a tar because it's only geluach derech hashchasi. Iloi gomek zei rishava misprime namiloi. And even says this should be ushered. The Gemara says la'olam gomek zei rishava. He does have the zei rishava that you need. Giluach derech hashchasa. Rabbi Lezer also requires both criteria. Iksova hani nami giluach avdi. This also, the malkat hitni, these tools, whatever they are, tweezers or whatever tool you use to remove your hair, is also considered derech giluach. It's giluach derech hashchasa. Now, look, I used to shave my beard, yeah, for many years. Now we're in Sphere and I see everybody's got a beard, Baruch Hashem. My son also just has a blonde hair. I just want to make sure that the oilam knows he's not shaving. The halacha is so. I was looking this up in 1845. It's very interesting. There was a gzeira by the Russian Tsar, Nicholas I, Yamach Shemoy v'Zichrei. So he was a tremendous Soine Yisrael, anti-Semite, Soired Yehudim, and he, in the early 1800s, would abduct and kidnap young Jewish boys and force them to go into the Russian army, and 25 years until they were assimilated, forgot about their Judaism. In 1845, he had a new gzeira, and he was also the king of the Polish Congress. He ruled over Poland at the time as well. He said that every Jew must shave his beard and must look like a guy, start speaking the language of the country, and just have to assimilate. And the Chiddushei Harim, the first Gerer Rebbe, came out and said, Yehareg va'al yaver, to cut your beard in the face of this Gzeira. Yehareg va'al yaver. It's a big machlokas, the Tzemach Tzedek, the Rishner, between the Gedolei Olam, whether a Yid can cut his beard to comply with the Gzeira and save his life, or not. And the Chiddushei Harim said that it's Yehorig Val Yaver. They ended up arresting him. There was demonstrations. They were forced to free him. There's a lot of history around that. But the idea that at certain times, Gedolei Yisrael held that it's Yehorig Val Yaver, you have to let yourself be killed and not touch your beard. I saw a Maisa, Shas Hashmad, I saw a Maisa from Shlomo Kluger. Shlomo Kluger, a fellow came to him. He was having children, and his children were dying young. Mamish by, they're a baby, they couldn't live out the first couple of months of their lives. They were just dying. And he came and he cried to Shlomo Kluger. Shlomo Kluger said, I noticed that you are shaving. I noticed that you don't really have a beard. Either you had a very short beard, he was shaving. He says, let your beard grow. Because when children are young, they grab onto the father's beard. So if you want your children to live longer, to have what to hold on to, then let your beard grow. And kachava, he let your beard grow, he let his beard grow, and his children were zoicha to live. Now, yesterday we mentioned in the shiur that a beard is a chelik of the tzura of a Jew. That's what a Jew, the way a Yid look, you can't imagine Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov without a beard, right? Or Moshe Rabbeinu, if you ever draw, you're not going to imagine him without a beard. A Yid, the hadras panim of a Yid is with a beard. That's how it is. Which made me think, because in April of 2016, the New Yorker magazine, they had on the cover of the magazine, they had, pull it up over here, they had a hipster and the chassid back to back, and the chassid had his full shmeina begodim, his clothing, and the hipster had tattoos all over his body. And what was the only common denominator between the two on the cover of the New Yorker magazine on April 11th, 2016, their beard. You could see on their beard is the same size. Mamish the zelba board. I'm not sure if this is if you could assume that the beard of a yid and the beard of a goy is the same. So my son put together a couple of photos, just very quickly. Forgive me if this is if it takes away 30 seconds. A couple of photos of close-ups of beards, and I want to ask the olam to vote whether they believe it's the beard of a chassid or the beard of a hipster. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if you can tell the difference. This has been done in the secular world. Hipster or chassid? This guy is a hipster or a chassid?
Hipster.
Okay, a hipster or a chassid. What do we got? A hipster or a chassid? A smile. Okay, here we go. Pull it up. A hipster. Okay, next one. Very quickly. Chassid or a hipster? One second. Why everybody saying a chassid?
Because he didn't brush his
Because he
teeth.
stole it.
A chassid. There we go. Next. Okay, what's it does?
I'm going hipster.
Right.
I'm going hipster too. Let's go.
It's the same.
Another one?
Chassid.
That's not chassid.
It's a geschmackful beard. I mean, that could be.
Yeah.
It's a hipster, okay? Ooh, this looks like it's Litvish. What do you say? Yeah. There you go. I was good at this. Okay, one more. A little white hairs there. It could be that it could be maybe Efshir it's a chassid. Hipster.
Is that it?
There's 1 second. What do you got here? Chassid. Special thank you to Yosef Chaim. Thank you, Yosef Chaim, for this. Yesher koyach. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. We're starting the new Mishnah. Koisev ksoivis kaka. Somebody who draws a tattoo on his skin. Unbelievable tattoos. We're getting into the parsha of tattoos. Kosav veloy kiaka. If, let's say, he just put the tint or the coloring on his skin, but he didn't embed it into the skin, right? Just put it on the surface, on top. Or kikav veloy kosav, or he embedded it into the skin, but he didn't write it on the skin. Yeah. How's that possible? You embed some kind of roshim, whatever fell on your skin, but you weren't the one.
To the skin, the 5 layers to the skin. There's superficial and there's below.
But how can you be mekakeh something that you weren't kaisev? What does it mean kikav like kasav?
It didn't have the ink in it. It was just the needle.
You didn't. So there was no roshim. You just put. So what'd you put in?
Just the tattoo needle.
You just poked yourself with that tattoo needle. That's what it means. Okay. You're not chayv until you actually put the ink on the skin, on the flesh, and then you embed it into the skin. Between the flesh and the skin, right? If it's with makeup, women's makeup, or whatever you use, anything that leaves an impression, a mark, that is bichlal v'lav of the bichlal v'lav of leisitnu b'chem. Yeah. Okay, he says it's only if you write Pashtus in the Mishnah, only if you write the name of Hashem. Gemara is going to explain it means the name of Avodah Zarah. Yes. So that's the lav. In other words, any other image you want to put in, yeah? And by the way, we did some searches, and we found a lot of images of tattoos. I'm assuming they're Yidden, who put tattoos in their body. Here, we got a top 10 list. Show a couple of photos over here. Here we have, oh, wow. We got number 10. This is my gardener, by the way. You came to fix my fountain. It's in front of me. This picture's taken in front of my house. I saw he had a tattoo. What does it say? It says, Choyte sheshav mechatov. Unbelievable. That he was a sinner who did teshuvah. Very interesting. Here you have number 9. Spanish guy. This guy number 9. Bishvili nivra ha'olam. Can you believe this? Bishvili nivra ha'olam.
Where is it placed?
And here you have on the Makkos Tefillin, v'ahavta eis Hashem Elokecha. You have loisikon v'loisitor. And you have v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.
It's got a built-in tefillin.
Got built-in tefillin. Here we have Gam Ki Eilech Begates Al Moves Lo Yira Ra. Like if you had a tattoo, what would your pasuk be? Like that should be the question, yeah? We have him Eina Nili Mili Kshini Latzmani. He wanted a Mishnah. Rashi font.
Very good.
Rashi font. Here we have Am Yisrael Chai. This guy's mamish a proud Jew. And here we have Bashert. Okay, this guy in his back has Bashert. And then we have, this is for Zayda. He put a Zayda's name on the yard site. And then we have number 2. We're not sure. Number 2 and number 1. Also not. Okay, but either way, what?
No, we got to show number 1.
I do want to go back. Go back to V'hafta Es Shem Elkecha. I want to.
Second, we got number 1 over here.
Talking about tattoos. His yard site is tonight. Tonight is a very big yard site, and I want to just mention a quick story that he said over about tattoos. He said he had quite a few of those, but you have mezuzah,
Not showing it.
a Boyer Priya Gofen, the Beis Hamikdash. We have MS.
So
Today we have the yard site of Rabbi
Here's
Wallerstein.
number 1.
Tonight, Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein. Have you heard of Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein? Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein, Zecher Tzadik Levracha. He told over a Maisa. It's his yard site tonight, so we'll just mention it. He said that once he was in LA, and he was speaking somewhere, and in the back you had a guy with a Harley Davidson, a motorcycle, parked outside, tattoos all over his body, sitting and listening to his speech, and he's wondering what's he doing here? And so after the speech, he goes over to him, and the guy says, "Rebbe, you don't remember me?" Rabbi Wallerstein says, "I don't remember you." And immediately, it clicked. After a second, it's oh my goodness! 20 years ago, he was in my 8th grade class, and now it's 20 years later. He's fully grown, got tattoos all over his body, and he gave him a big hug. He says, "Rebbe, I came here to make you proud. I want to show you something." And he's mamish covered in tattoos, and he pulls up his sleeve, his left hand, pulls up the sleeve over there, and he shows him that up until his biceps, up until here, he's got tattoos, but over here is clean. Not a single tattoo. The only place in his body with no tattoos.
That was number 2 tattoo.
He said, not the V'haftes, that wasn't him.
No, that was number 2, the one that was blank.
That was the blank one.
Yeah.
There you go. That was the blank photo. He said, because when I was in your 8th grade 20 years ago, he said I was in your 8th grade. My parents were struggling. I was having bar mitzvah. They couldn't afford a pair of tefillin for me. And you raised the money and you got me a pair of tefillin. And that was a gift from you, Rebbe. And when you gave it to me, you told me, he said, I'm giving this as a gift. Make sure to put it on every day. He says, I can't tell you that I put it on every day, but I could tell you when I was getting the tattoos all over, I told the guy, don't touch over here, because my Rebbe gave me a gift, and from time to time I still put on your tefillin. That was Rabbi Wallerstein, his love, his dedication to Am Yisrael, his love to every Jew. His neshama should have an aliyah. Rabbi Wallerstein, that's the one of the stories you mentioned about tattooing.
Let's do the last 2. I got
the last 2 here we have.
Number 2 over here.
One is Gamze Avo on one side, Ki Ate Yamadi on the other side. And this one we have. Lamaisa, look, I don't know how many of them are Jews. I just see the hands, ich weiß nicht. But if they're a Yid, it's an expression of Avas Hashem, no doubt. It's just misguided. So we have to make sure that we spread the inspiration as much as we can to inform and educate and inspire everybody else. Okay.
So you said before that not everything is just a Avodah Zarah tattoo.
Machlokes. That's Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon says only if you tattoo the name of Avodah Zarah. We'll see in a moment. But Tanakama argues with Paskin like the Tanakama. It's not, the halacha is not like Reb Shimon. Let's see the Gemara over here. Omele Ravacha Bred Rav Ravashi. Ad yichtov ani Hashem mamish. When Reb Shimon says Ad shichtov Hashem, it means he has to write the words ani Hashem. Omele loik. It's only by kapara nechayv shichtov Hashem shel avedis kacham shneim chsevis kakar leznim b'chem ani Hashem v'lo yacher. Yeah, it's allowed. Only me, Hashem says. Don't write the name of Avodah Zarah on your body. A person is not allowed. I guess they used to use the ashes from the stove as a way of healing on their makkah. Now the problem is when you have a wound, so the skin is open, right? You have open skin, and then you put the ashes onto the wound, and then the skin closes, and what gets trapped inside? The coloring of the ashes. So Rav Wallerstein said, don't put Efer Mikla, right, burnt ashes al gabe makasa on your wound, it does. It's maris ayin. Obviously, it's not. You're not over a lav of tattooing yourself because you did it for refuah, and obviously you're just trying to heal, and it's also going to go away eventually. It's not like tint or anything else, but still, it's maris ayin. Don't do it. Omer Rav Nachman Reikes shapud shfachos v'gumos Rav Malkiyoy. Bloiris, Ephraim Mikla Gvina of Malkiya. He just wants to make sure that they're two different Amiroim, and each Amirah, one is Malkiyoi, said 3 different halachas, and Rav Malkiya said 3 other halachas. Very quickly, what are the 3 halachas of Malkiyoi? Shapud. What is Shapud? The halacha of Shapud pertains to a skewer. That if a person, let's say, roasts meat on Yantiv with a skewer, so after he takes off the meat from the skewer, that skewer is muktzah. Right, because you can't use it anymore. It's nislachlech, it's nimas from all the basar and the shuman. So that's one halacha that Rav Malkiya said. That's shapud. Shfachos is a woman is usually meshubed to do all these kinds of services mentioned in ksubis for her husband. What if the woman brings in housekeepers? So the housekeepers can take the place and they can do the work that the woman is meshubed to do for the husband. That's the shfachos. And what is gumos? Gumos is the hair on a cotton, right? You need Shtei Cyrus, you need Shonim and Shtei Cyrus. The Shtei Cyrus have to be proper hair that you have follicles. The hair has follicles to it. It's not just, thin hair. That's the 3 of Rav Malkiya. And then you have Rav Malkiya said, Bloiris. What is the halacha of Bloiris? The Goyim, they used to leave a chup, what we call a chup, in front of their head, L'shem avodah zarah. So you're not allowed to do that, because that's what the Goyim did. And Efer Mikla is what we just said, don't put the burnt ashes on your makkah.
It says here, חלק הקדמי, ולן דוד המלך היה לו 400 בנים עם בלוריות.
אוקיי.
וכתוב שם שהבלוריות...
איך זה יכול להיות? אז מה הוא אומר?
הבלוריות...
In Sanhedrin, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
The bloriyot were the back.
Not in the front. No, it says in the front.
Yeah.
That's the Isser is in the front.
Yeah, but it's...
They left it in the front, not in the back.
It says here, blorit is in the front.
Right. There's also a bloiris. A bloiris in the back, a bloiris in the front. The question is which one? Bloiris in the front is aser. Efer mikla is ashes. Ugvina is gvinas akum. That was said by Rav Malkiya. Rav Papa Omar Masnisa Rav Malkiya. Anytime you see a memra on a mishnah or on a brisa, that's Rav Malkiya. Shmaitza, if you see it said on the memra of an amayir, that's Rav Malkiya. V'simonech Masnisa Malkasa. Whenever it's said in a mishnah, that's Rav Malkiya. My benayu, ikbenayu shvacha is the only difference between shvachas. Who said shvachas? Because shvachas is a mishnah. According to Rav Nachman, it's Rav Malkiya, and according to Rav Papa, that's Rav Malkiya. Ravi Rabbi Kopet Afila Ariv did the Kosilta. Ravi Rabbi was makpid not to put burnt ashes even on a small, tiny wound, because that also would look like a tattoo. He says, don't worry, if you have a wound, you can put whatever you want, because once you have the makkah there, everybody will know. It's not marasayin. Everybody sees you have a makkah there, and they won't get confused. Okay, a nazir. We know a nazir is not allowed to drink wine. So if he drinks wine a whole day, right? He drinks 5 bottles of wine. How many lavim is he over? Says the Mishnah, Ein chayiv ela achas. He's only chayiv one time malchus. Amru loy, but if he had a asra on each revius, every sip of revius, Adam said, Amru loy, al tishta, don't drink it. He drinks anyway. Don't drink it. He drinks anyway. Al tishta. V'ushoyse, chayiv kol achas v'achas. You get lashes, a lav, a separate lav on each one. A person who is matama. L'meisim kalayoim, and he's not allowed to be matama, a nazir, ein chayiv ela achas. He's only chayiv once. Al titam al titam. If Adam were massive, they said, don't be matama yourself. Who matama chayiv al kol achas v'achas. Megaleach kalayoim. What if he was megaleach a nazir again? He's megaleach, takes a haircut the entire day. Ein chayiv ela achas. Even though he's mafsik, it doesn't mean you can only take a haircut once, right? You cut off your hair, then you have to wait. But it means like you took a haircut over here, and then you took a break, then you take it on the other side, take a break, then back, take a break. So you're in chayv achas. But in between each break, amru loy, if Adam told him about the galach al tegalach, don't do it. V'magaleach, and he did it anyways. Chayv al kolachas v'achas, and he's chayv on each one a separate lav, separate malchus. Now we're going to every person, right? Until now was a nazir. Now any person who wears kalayim, kol hayoim, he wears a beged shatnez, a kalayim. Even if he wears it the entire day in a chayv al-achas, only chayv one lav. Amru al tilbash al tilbash. If they said to him, don't wear it as many times as they warned him, that's how many lavim he's over. as long as we Paishet Veloivish, as long as there was time to take it off and put it on again between each warning. Then Chayiv Akal Achas V'Achas, then he's Chayiv on each one. Says the Mishnah, a very interesting thing. Yesh Choyrish Telem Echad, you have somebody who can plow one row, V'Chayiv Olav Mishem Shmoyna Lavan, right, a riddle. How could you just do one plow and you're over 8 Averis, 8 Lavan in one plow. How could it be? HaChoyrish B'Shor V'Chamor. Number one, let's count. A guy who's plowing with Shor V'Chamor Yachdav. That's an Isser. You're not allowed to plow with Kalayim. Klei B'Haima. V'Hein Mikdoshin. And they're Hekdesh. You're not allowed to use Hekdesh to plow. That's number two. Ukalayim B'Keren. What are you plowing? You're plowing Kalayim in the vineyard, right? You're using Tvu and Kalayim. That's number three. Ubeshvias, and you're doing it in Shemitah. Shemitah is Aser. And V'Yomtiv, and you're doing it on Yomtiv. That's 5. You're not allowed to plow on Yomtiv. And then number 6, V'Koyin, V'Nozir. Number 6 and 7, B'Beis Atoma. And V'Koyin V'Nozir, B'Beis Atoma. What did I miss? I only come
Beis Atoma is number 8.
V'Koyin V'Nozir.
Those are all 3. Koyin, Nazir, Beis Atoma. He's a
No.
Koyin and he's a Nazir.
Koyin and Nazir in a base.
No, Koyin V'Nozir in a Beis Atoma.
He's a
No.
Koyin and a Nazir at the same time.
He went to the
That's
cemetery.
And he's in a Beis
He went to
Atoma.
the cemetery. He's over another Avera.
He's plowing in the cemetery.
Shor V'Chamar 1. Mukdashim 2. Kilayim B'Keren 3. Shvius is 4. Yomtiv is 5. Koyin's 6. Nazir 7. Beis Atoma is 8.
What's the Isser of Koyin?
He's in a base of Tumah.
Koyin's not allowed to be in a...
So that's 6.
And a Nazir's not allowed to be in Beis Atoma either.
And that's
this
7.
guy's a Koyin and a Nazir.
No,
So that's 6 and 7.
He's Chayiv out being a Koyin. He's Chayiv out being a Nazir.
If the coin was the coin.
Oh, what are you saying? He's Chayiv twice, you said?
He's Chayiv out to Koyin. He's Chayiv out to Nazir.
Yeah.
If the Choresh was a coin, then yes, it's 8. If he was Israel, no.
Correct.
No.
Yeah,
No, I missed something.
What's on Makkos?
Vehein Mukdoshin is 2. Yeah, Vehein Mukdoshin is 2. Sorry guys, Nachamol. HaChoyrish B'Shor V'Chamor is 1. Vehein Mukdoshin is 2 and 3. Right? Because you're using 2 animals, each of them is Hekdesh. Okay, so now it makes sense. V'Kalayim B'Kerem is 4. Shvius Shemitah is 5. Yontav is 6. Koyin V'Nos V'Zatum is 7, 8. Okay, Chanayim V'Chanayim Omer Afa Loivish.
You get 10 if you muzzle them also.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. The Gemara is going to come up with all kinds of cases where we should have had more. Okay, very good. So the Gemara says, "Chanayim Chanayim Afa Loivish Kalayim." Also, somebody, what if he wears Kalayim? He's wearing Kalayim. It's not just Kalayim in the Soda or Kalayim in the Behemoth, but he's also wearing a beged of Shatnez. You could have found another one. Amruloi Einoi Hashem. That's not in the same act of Charisha. Amr Lehem. What do you mean? Afa Nazir lo yu Hashem. But Nazir and Koyin is also lo yu Hashem. It's Beis Atoma. Even if you wouldn't be plowing, you would still be Chai because you're in a cemetery. So how could you count that and not count this? So if you're counting Nazir and Koyin Beis Atoma, even though it's not Man Hashem, it's not part of the Charisha, so you should also count my creative idea of Leivish Kalayim. Okay, Zuk the Gemara weiter. Oh, Zuk the Gemara. Omar Rav Bibi. Omer Rabbi Yossi. Poshit. 1 second. Do we have the photo of Zichru?
Yes.
Okay, we have a photo, by the way, Zichru.
There it is.
A plug for Zichru. Here we got the guy that came up with the simon for this daf is Chaf Aleph. I think it's the guy who's doing this samana must be British because it's car. Now, if you're an American,
Boston.
you say car.
They said it's based on the way Bostonians pronounce car.
But it's not fair. We're in LA. Okay, so we have to send an email.
Yeah.
It's car. If you have a car, so the Kaf Aleph is car, and you have the simon has a beautiful image of a kohen. It seems to be a kohen head yet, right? Not with the choshen. Okay.
It's got the long hair. That's
A kohen with a shor v'chamor with the long hair because he's a nazir in a cemetery and is a sign Shemitah. You see the whole image over there.
And the Yid
that has
saying
all
on
the
the top, if it was Yontif, you'd be Chayiv et Malchus. That's what these guys saying over here.
Oh, gewaldig. Okay, gewaldig. Zichru is the best.
Just stand a little bubble.
Okay, Zuli Gemara weiter. Amr Rabbi Yossi, Poshit v'loivish, loivish mamish, oyafilu machnas amoitzi, beis yad unkoli shaloi. Does that mean, in other words, how much time do you need in between each warning? Do you have to mamish have time to take it off completely and then put it back on? Or even if you just had time to take out one of the sleeves, that's also enough time to be mechayiv you on another lav if Adam warned you in that time. So machvi Rav Achra bered Rav Ika. Rav Achra bered Ika was giving shiur, and what did he do? Rabbi said this is what he did. Ayula ve'apuki. He mamish took out his sleeve to show his talmidim Yeah? This is the makar for showing for having visuals. Yeah? Rachaber Rika wanted to have a visual for his talmidim. He showed them, in real time, what it looks like. Ayulav Apuki, if you just have time to take your sleeve out, and Adam warned you in that time, don't do it again, don't put it on. If you just had that time, then you chayiv another lav. Rashi Omer.
It's a question.
No, he's answering. He says, Machvi Rav Achaber Ayulav Apuki. He's paskening that even if you have time, take out your sleeve.
Not for sure.
Rav Ashi argues, Afilu loisha l'kadei lifshet v'lilvaish chayiv. Even if you didn't have time, b'chlal. Even if you didn't have time, b'chlal. If you didn't do it b'chlal, you just had time to do it. Then he's chayiv also, because that amount of time that you spend in the beged of kalayim is enough to be mechayiv you another one. Yesh chayrish telemecha. It says the Gemara, Rabbi Yana bechavura nimnu v'gamru hachoife b'kalayim loika. Somebody who covers over kalayim with dirt, that he gets malchus. That's a big chiddush. You know why? Because the isra of kalayim is only to plant, to be zereya. Now, what constitutes zereya? What does it mean to be zereya kalayim? Zereya kalayim means to put a seed in the ground, right? How do I know that zereya kalayim is even if the seed is already there? You didn't put the seeds there. You just covered over with dirt. Covering it over with dirt, that constitutes zereya. That is a chiyuv of zereya kalayim. Is it noten lazer koach? Isn't this our Mishnah? That's mamash our Mishnah. Because why? The Mishnah talks about plowing. Yesh chayrish telemechad v'chayiv l'shem shayne lavin. Right? Yechayiv 8 lavin. Hachayrish b'shachavim marvim b'kdosh hashmav v'kalayim b'kerem. Hayd v'chayrish the mechayiv m'shem kalayim mechem eshkachas la. One of the yisurim the Mishnah mentions is kalayim. What's the act that you're doing? Not zereya. How can you chayiv on kalayim if you're not planting? It's only zereya b'kalayim is chayiv. So how could that be part of the list? You're not being zereya over there, you're plowing. So it must be that what? Lav the mekasi badei the azul. That as you're plowing, what you're doing is really also, you're undigging dirt over here, but you're covering dirt somewhere else. What are you covering the dirt on? You're covering it on the zroim of kalayim. And that's why you are chayiv. Omar lei, Sir Rabbi Yana said to Rabbi Yochanan, ilav the dalolach chaspa, mi mashkachas maganisa tusa. If I wouldn't have lifted up this shard of earth, this cheres, mi mashkachas maganisa, you would never have found this diamond underneath it. Which is an analogy. He meant to say, if I didn't tell you my chiddush of achoife b'kalayim loika, then you never would have realized that that's the pshat in the Mishnah. You would have explained the Mishnah differently. You would have explained the Mishnah differently. You wouldn't have discovered this chiddush, this diamond in our Mishnah. Omalei Rish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan ilar de kilsach gavra rabba havamina. If not for Rabbi Yanai, I would have thought Masnisa Mani Rabbi Akiva. How would you have explained the Mishnah? Why would you be chayiv on kalayim by charisha? You're only chayiv kalayim by zriya. The Mishnah talks about chayrish. So why would you be chayiv? So Rabbi Yanai is saying because then you're covering some dirt. And covering of dirt is also Zayreya. But if not for Rabbi Yana, how would we have explained the Mishnah? The Gemara says, Masisa Mani Rabbi Akiva. I would have had to say the Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva, the Omer, Makayim Kilayim Loika. Rabbi Akiva says, even if you didn't plant it, you're just holding it. Makayim, you're being Makayim it. That's also a lav. My Rabbi Akiva, where is this Rabbi Akiva? The Tanya built the Braisa, Menakesh, V'machapim B'kalayim, Loika. Somebody who weeds or covers over dirt in Kalayim, he gets malchus. Rabbi Akiva, Omer, Afa Makayim. Even Makayim, my time with Rabbi Akiva, what's the reason for Rabbi Akiva? The Tanya we learned in the Braisa, Sadcho Le'Sizr Kalayim, Ein Le'el Zireya. Only no Zriya. Makayim, Kalayim, Minayin. How do I know if you're Makayim the Kalayim also? Talmud Loimar, Kilayim Satchaloi. Very interesting how you dash in the pasuk. It says the word Kilayim before Satcha. It says the word Kilayim after Satcha. The word Kilayim before Satcha goes on Behemoth. Behem Techal is Rabbi Kilayim, and it says Satcha is Isra Kilayim. So Rabbi Akiva says, take the word Kilayim from Behemoth and dash in Kilayim Satchaloi. Yeah, he's putting the comma in a different place. It says.
You got the full puzzle going here. Interesting. You don't have the full puzzle.
Behem Techal is Rabbi Kilayim. Right, you see in Satchel it's Kalayim. So Rekiva Darshans used the word Kalayim from Behema and put the comma after Lisabiyah, I guess, and just put Kalayim Satcheloi. Don't have Kalayim in your field, and that's how you know the Isser of being Mekayim. Maspik shu Mekayim Kalayim, and this is how we learn. We learned this from that pasuk. Yes. Now I just want to say, Bezrat Hashem. We're up to now Chaf Aleph Amid Beis at the end. Tomorrow is Chaf Beis. Tomorrow is Mirza Hashem. Tuesday, Wednesday. the end of this week, we're finishing Makkos Mir Hashem. And we're starting Masechtas Shavuos. And our dear member of our shiur, Rabbi Yoel has generously sponsored Masechtas Shavuos for hundreds of people online to be able to enjoy the shiur, to have it recorded and uploaded by our one and only Rocky Friedman. So Agrisi Yashikoyach Rabbi Yoel for going above and beyond, and Rocky for being Mazaka so many people. Both of you, Yashikoyach. Okay, we'll see you back tomorrow. Same place, same time.